When we encounter a deity, what happens to us? Yes, that deity is not separate from us. It's just a very highly cultivated, highly informative mirror to us, who we are. Like, for instance, let's take the goddess Durga. So she is this woman who happens to have many arms, which looks funny to us Westerners, right? But there's a reason for that. And she rides a lion, and she is just majestic and powerful in her appearance. Now, that's why some people get names of deities, like Durga. Right? So she looks at that, and she can use it as a mirror of herself. And she can learn what these different symbols in the different arms that Durga holds, what they mean, what function they have. Because all of this points to an internal force inside of us. So when Durga has, on one side of her arms, there's different forms of Durga, but the most commonly known one, she has a number of weapons. And here she has a number of sort of supportive, positive symbols like a lotus and a rosary and so on, right? So what does all this mean, right? So we study that. What does it mean that she holds a lotus? It means spiritual unfolding. That's a power that we have. And as we relate to that form of Durga, that ability is strengthened and awakened in us, right? She holds a sword. What's the sword about? Well, it chops off the head of ego. Right? It kills the demon in us, which is the negativity. That's what we're doing in a more abstract sense with the work, with open attention, with meditation, etc. So you can then look at this figure of Durga as an entire teaching, but more than a teaching for the mind, a teaching for your being, because as you relate to Durga, the goddess, through your heart, that essence comes alive in you and transforms you from the inside. There are 3 phases in the Durga Puja, and there are 3 deities which are aspects of Durga. So I should talk about Durga a little bit. So there's these stories, which appear to be stories about gods in some different space, but they're really stories about what's going on inside of us. So, it so happened that the world was overcome by evil. The demons had conquered just about everything, and the gods were in big trouble. And what are the demons and gods? The negative and positive aspects of our being. And you know how it sometimes gets to be like the negative stuff takes over, right? And you can't be really kind to demons because they take over, right? So there's a very specific way you have to treat them. You have to kill them. So in a way, we do that too. And sometimes you may have an experience, that's one of the experiences we have in our ascendance in spiritual life. You can have the experience of your ego actually dying. The way of dealing with Durga, with the mother goddess, you can actually draw these ego death experiences to you through the story, the mythology of the goddess, which is all about that. It's about killing the ego. But it comes to you then in a very gentle way, not in the rough way that it happens when life gives it to you. Because you engender it, you draw it to you voluntarily through your devotion to this deity. So, now, what happened to the gods? None of the gods was strong enough to take it up with these demons. Who are the demons? Basically the powers of ego, the powers of delusion, the powers of suffering, powers of fear. So what they did, some very smart, they all came together and they sat in a circle, and they projected their divine powers into the center of that circle. And where the so that the beam of their powers met, suddenly Durga appeared. So she is the creation of all the combined powers of the gods. So whatever is good in you, whatever has that positive, enlightening and awakening quality, all of it together manifests that feminine power. And there she is on her lion, resplendent, beautiful like no one else in the world, with all her little toys, all her weapons and symbols and stuff like that.
Om Bagala Namaha, Om Kamunda Namaha, Om Kandika Namaha, Om Maharatri Namaha, Om Raktadanti Namaha, Om Kalike Namaha, Om Aja Namaha, Om Amba Namaha, Om Ambika Namaha, Om Aparna Namaha, Om Bhuvaneshwari Namaha, Om Devi Namaha, Om Usha Namaha, Om Vishvani Namaha, Om Parameshwari Namaha, Om Shiva Namaha, Om Shankari Namaha, Om Sundari Namaha, Om Rajarajeshwari Namaha, Om Mahayogini Namaha, Om Tripura Sundari Namaha, Om Mahamaya Namaha.